It seems like you're able to care for your future self by looking at your past self through the lens of grace.
Welcome to the College of Valor, where we empower truth seekers with the art of reason. Hope is the motivation, truth is the goal. Everyday valor is the practice, better living is the result. Hi, guys. Welcome to College of Valor. Hey, Lyd.
Hey, Dad. What's up?
How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing dandy. How are you?
I'm good. We both just finished up a long day of work, and we're trying to be awake enough to do this. And so it's a bit of a challenge. But hey, I have my windows open, so I have some fresh air. I think we can win.
Today, we're going to be talking about caring for your future self.
Mm,
And it's such an incredible topic. It's also something that a lot of people may feel a little bit trepidatious about or a little bit you know, too too vulnerable to be vulnerable with themselves, but it's such an amazing thing to do. And I'm so excited to talk about this today. What is caring for your future self? What exactly does that mean?
well, it has something to do kind of with imagining time travel, which can be kind of tricky because it needs to be very, very real to you. And making it real to you is what makes it so powerful. And so, I mean, in its simplest way, you could say, well, what I'm doing today is going to impact my life in the future. So, how I'm living right now will change how I am able to live in the future. And you could think of this on almost every domain, right? You could say, well, let's talk about knowledge. What I'm learning now will be knowledge that I can use in the future. Or you could talk about this like emotional health. As I manage to sort out my emotions now and learn how to deal with different emotions in a more positive way, then that means my future self is going to be that much more skilled at it. Or you could think of it financially. Money I'm saving now is money I'm going to have in the future, or money I'm earning now is going to build a more lucrative future, perhaps. Or this is the one most people think of, the way I eat now, the way I exercise now is going to impact how healthy I am in the future. So those are all true statements, but I want to go deeper than that because if you can get this kind of in your head, if you can wrap around this in a way that is very, very real, then it becomes very, very powerful. So we're going to
Mm.
try to encourage that.
Yeah, I love that.
You know what we have not done in a long time, though, Lyd?
What?
This is an aside, kind of. We've not read our mission statement in a long time. And a lot of people have started listening to the channel and they have never heard it before. So I thought before we dive into the details of Future Self, I wanted to read the mission statement because I think it relates.
Yeah, I think
So,
that's awesome.
College of Valor empowers truth seekers to build trustworthy foundations for rewarding lives. We facilitate critical thinking, honing life skills, and the art of reason by exploring fascinating ideas and current societal trends. Hope is the motivator, truth is the goal, everyday valor is the practice, better living is the result.
Hmm. Right on.
I think what all that is saying is that we're here to make life better for folks, and that's something that happens over time. And what you do now makes your life better in the future. And learning how to be a good critical thinker and learning more about what your belief system is can really impact how successful life is for you in the future. And when I say successful, it's not necessarily financial success, career success, right? I define success as a life well lived, a meaningful life that you feel good about. And I think sometimes the Western idea of success is a little overrated, frankly. He or she that gets the most toys wins is not a valid approach to life as far as I'm concerned. I don't think it's really that rewarding or beneficial.
So I think that the first thing maybe we should talk about You touched on it a little bit, but treating your future self as a real person that you're caring for. And a way to wrap around that is to think about your past self. What would you tell your past self if you could send a message to them back in time? So, give us an example of kind of how this would work for somebody trying to care for their future self by telling their past self something first so they can kind of give themselves a real life example.
Well, when we think about our future selves, it's just imagination, right? Because we don't know exactly, what we're going to be up against, what we're going to look like, what we're going to feel like, where we'll be in life, 10, 20 years in the future. It's kind of hard to know. But if we think of our past, then we have actual memories, experiences that we really did go through. So it's easier to think about your past self and then think, if I could talk to my past self, what would I tell that person? And boy, it can get kind of emotional, actually, because we've all had experiences, good and bad, in the past. And a lot of us have had experiences that have been really hard.
Yeah.
And of course, the joke answer is, well, I would tell my past self what the winning lottery numbers were for last month, right? Um, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about more along the lines of, I mean, in my life, I kind of had a rough childhood.
Yeah.
My parents
To put
didn't
it
get
lightly.
along at all, and um, there were some serious challenges. And if I could go back and tell my past self something that would be meaningful, I think I would tell my past self as a child that it wasn't my fault,
Yeah.
because I carried that load for many, many years. It was my parents' fault.
Yeah.
And I think that if I had learned that earlier in life, then it would have really relieved a lot of pain. So that's one example, of telling your past self something of real value. And I can relate to that deeply because it's something I lived. So then the goal is to be able to think of your future self that realistically. If you can think of your future self almost like a memory that's already happened.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I really love that just because it seems like you're able to care for your future self by looking at your past self through the lens of grace,
Mm,
and
sure.
truly caring and loving for yourself.
Well, I hope that I'm living my life now in a way which my future self will be proud of. I want my future self to look at my current self and say, good job. Holy cow. And thank you so much, because you built this life. What you're working on now landed us where the future self is.
Right.
And so I really want that future self to be able to say with gratitude and love, dude, you did it. Not everything was perfect, right? Not everything was perfect. You went through a lot of hard times and ups and downs and struggles and challenges, and you won some big ones. And now, thank you for that, because now life is so much better, right? And in a way, Lydia, I can already do that, because if I look at my young adult years and all the decisions I made and how hard I worked, I can already look around at my current life and say, we made a huge amount of progress and a lot of things turned out really, really well. And I can look at my young adult self now and I can say, thank you. Thank you, Kurt, for all your hard work. Thank you for your devotion and all of those sleepless nights, those long work days, because it paid off. Life is pretty good.
Yep. That's so good to be able to see. And that's encouraging for, somebody that's my age, just kind of starting out and trying to build their life. And um it's just encouraging to see, on step one of the stair steps that it's a a good move, and it's something that your future self can potentially look back at and just say, wow, that was awesome. And even if it doesn't work out, even if it wasn't the right move, you took a step in the right direction, which is super cool.
Sometimes what might be even more important is that we took a step in the wrong direction, but we figured it out and learned from it. And that life lesson maybe pays out in huge rewards later on.
Yeah. Yep. That's so true. So it's kind of an abstract concept to be able to think about your future self, and kind of going off of that, I was wondering how you can treat your future self with love and grace, having not met this person and not operating in the same time and space as this person.
It's a two-way street. I think we have to practice love and grace for our past self. And then when we think about loving that future self, treating that future self like someone worth taking care of, then that's born out of love and grace too. And it's kind of like grace in advance, because we know that we're forgiving things that we haven't even done yet, but that's real life and that's the way it goes. And no one's
Mm.
perfect. And none of us has a crystal ball that can perfectly see the future either. So right now, when I imagine my future self, which we need to come back to imagining your future self, my imagination is not going to be correct, right? I have an idea of where I would like to be in 10 or 20 years. I have an idea of, what my health would be like and what I may look like. But reality is that it's not going to be that when I get there. It's going to be something else. And it's okay to already have an attitude of grace and of forgiveness, because things don't turn out the way we expect.
But having grace for your future self and caring for your future self as best as you can just really helps out with that too, I think.
I have to interrupt, because if you've ever wanted to know what the fox says, he's saying it outside the window right now. And it's a really weird sound and it's really distracting me. So I'm going to close the window. So, Lydia, why don't you talk to us? Try to answer some of these questions. What do you think your future self will say about you?
I really hope that my future self would say, well done. That's something that I would want Lydia when she's 65 or 70 to be able to say. And I would want her to just say, there have been a lot of twists and turns. Maybe all the decisions that you made weren't perfect, but you tried really hard. And look where we are now. And it was a lot more okay than you thought it was. Maybe you had a little bit of a tendency to catastrophize a little bit, but it's okay.
This idea of future self is not original with me. I heard this on various podcasts over the last few years. It kind of became an internet meme, I think. And I heard one fellow, I'm sorry, I apologize because I don't remember which one, but he said that he actually got one of those apps on his phone that will age you. So he took a picture of himself and then he dialed up the age until he looked like he was quite a lot older. And then he printed that picture out and framed it and put it on his desk. And it
Why would he
seems
do that?
it seems a little narcissistic, but when he looks at that picture of the old version of himself, then there's some accountability there. He's like, yes, it's worth it. I'm doing this for you, buddy.
Yeah.
And I think anything that we can do to bring more reality to this exercise, that's why I wanted to talk about imagination. I think that we can, when you're feeling restful and somewhat creative, close your eyes and imagine what you want your life to be like in the future. Choose a date, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years. I mean, it can be as far out as you want, but try to imagine what life is like for you then. And that it's not, oh, well, I have a bunch of money and I've got this great wife or this great husband and I won the Nobel Prize and it's not that. It's not that. No, it's how does it feel? How does your body feel? What kind of a home are you in and where? What is your lifestyle? How busy are you? How do you sleep at night?
Mm.
What do you do with your time? Can you get a feeling for that? And if you can imagine it and make it feel super, super real, and of course, people call this visualization, right?
Right.
Um, then it motivates us to move in that direction. Now, there's you may remember The Secret or the book The Secret or the movie The Secret that talked about just visualize it and it'll come to you. There are plenty of accounts where things like that happen. I think what's really going on, because I actually have looked into this quite a lot, what's really going on is when you have a goal that is so real that you can feel it, you can taste it, then it influences your everyday life decisions. And so you make decisions that lead you toward that sort of a goal.
Mm.
And so you're
Mhm.
increasing the probability of achieving what you can really, really visualize. And that's very powerful in your life. Hopefully, what you're visualizing is something that's very, very worthwhile. I think that when people visualize materialistic things, then I think sometimes it can be distracting. It can be misguided because what's going to bring you real joy is probably helping to grow up that inner child rather than getting the new Corvette.
Right. Yeah. I
So
definitely see that.
anyway, we need to make this future self very, very real. So maybe you do want to age yourself and print out a picture and look at it once a day. Remind
Man,
yourself
yeah.
that what you're doing now is for that person. But one thing I want to throw out here, I've heard people say strive for success, whatever that success is for you. Strive for success. And I think I've even said this on a prior episode. I totally disagree with that. We should thrive for success, meaning
Yeah.
every day is a gift. Every day is to be enjoyed and lived. And if you're not living now and enjoying life now, you might never be able to. So
Wow. Yeah.
it really, really matters that you get your house in order now. And that doesn't mean it's perfect, right? It means that you've got your game plan. You're taking care of that inner child and that inner child is growing and you can feel progress and celebrate that progress every single day. And even when the tough days happen, you can take a deep breath and say, well, tough days happen, but this life is such a beautiful gift. What an amazing opportunity to experience the hardship, even because that's real and raw. It's alive. And when
Yeah.
you have those times of joy, recognize it and celebrate it. And when you have those happy moments, clap your hands. Say, I am so happy right now. Life is good right now and getting better every day.
Oh man, I totally agree. I was just reading something just a couple of minutes ago actually that struggles bring character building and character building in turn brings hope. And I thought that that was such a cool concept that your struggles eventually will bring you hope because
Mm,
they build character and perseverance. And I think that that's really cool just to think about, especially with your future self, that aspect of in the future, because you may be really struggling right now. Life could just be really, really hard. But part of caring for your future self is building that character and that perseverance through those struggles so that your future self will have hope.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. There's one other thing that you just reminded me of that I think I believe in this and I can't prove it, but I've experienced it enough that I believe it to be true. Some people talk about the higher self or your higher consciousness. And I actually believe that we have an eternal human spirit. You don't have to agree with me, but if you decide that you want to live your life that way, it can really help your current life because it's a very rewarding perspective. So I believe that our eternal human spirit is what gives us the ability to really think and to function and to feel and experience. And I believe that our minds, our brains, the gray matter, that's the huge interface that takes that consciousness and ties it to our body. And so like when people aren't doing well with their consciousness, it's because their interface is broken. That's my theory, right? So why do
Yeah.
I bring all this up? Because it's really kind of interesting, but you can access that spirit, that higher consciousness of your own self and step out of your emotions, step out of your experiences, step out of whatever the circumstances are at the very moment and observe. Just watch, not judge, just observe. And it goes something like this sometimes. Wow, I'm really feeling upset. But what's crazy about that is that this observer, this watcher, this higher consciousness, this spirit, it's like it doesn't have to participate in the crazy upset emotions. It observes them. Very upset right now. Interesting. I wonder what I'm going to learn from this.
Right.
And there's something so empowering about that. And it's not a matter of stuffing feelings because you're still feeling it. You're observing the feelings that you're feeling, but the observer is in some way above it. Sometimes when I think of a future self, that's the part of me that's really going to be there, right? The observer, the spirit of me. Did you know that? I know you do because you're a biology major. You can probably give me the numbers. Cells are dying in our bodies all the time. They're being replaced with new cells. New cells grow, old cells die. They get flushed out through the lymph glands and urine and everything else. And our bodies rejuvenate themselves like 100% every period of time. You're not the same person you were. You have a new body. That old body of yours that you think of as you doesn't even exist anymore, right? All the dead skin flaked off.
Yeah.
It's
I
kind of
think
a
it's
crazy
every
idea.
25 years that you get an entirely new body.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but the reality is that what part of you then is real? What part of you is going to be there in 25 years? Because this part right here, this not going to be there.
Right.
What's going to be there is that consciousness, that awareness of yourself.
Yeah. It's so true. I'm not sure if any of our listeners would relate to this, but I have had deja vu moments in my life where, I'll just be sitting here chilling out, maybe recording a podcast or something, and I will get this, it's almost like a potential message from my future self that's like in a circumstance doing something. I just get this general feeling of like that moment in my future life. And it's super
Mm,
crazy and out there. And um, it's kind of hard to wrap your brain around. But whenever I reach that moment in the present, then I all of a sudden get deja vu, like, oh, I've totally been here before. And I knew that this was gonna happen.
but you're
And
remembering the future.
yeah, I'm remembering the future, but it's happening in the present. And that kind of goes along this same idea of caring for your future self, because I'm seeing this maybe potential feeling or circumstance in the future, and I know first off that I am okay in the future, and most of the time it's a really happy feeling, like you just made a major breakthrough, or um you just climb the next stair step and the stair step of life, and it's a really good feeling. And so I think so much of that too is just really trying to care for your future self, but at the same time having a lot of respect for your future self, and also thinking of your future self as like a parent figure or a grandparent figure, and um just trying to make wise decisions to respect them, and even be able to sacrifice for them like you would if you were dealing with your actual parent or grandparent that you love so much. So if you do that for them, why wouldn't you do that for your future self, right?
That's another way to think of it, a paradigm that I find fascinating. It's a little bit sad, but not really, because if you think about, if you were in the room with your future self when you're really, really old, when someone has to take care of you because you can't care for yourself, and you love this person so much, it's like, your wonderful mom or aunt or dad or someone that you really get along well with, and they need your help at that time, and you're taking care of that person sacrificially because they need that care. And then you take that feeling of caring for that person and you say, but that person is me, and I need to care for myself now that way. Because if I care for myself now that way, that future self is going to be so much better off.
Mm,
But we
yeah.
don't do that. We make stupid decisions, or we don't make decisions. We get ourselves on all sorts of fixes and do all sorts of, well, I'll exercise tomorrow, and then tomorrow it's, oh, I'll exercise tomorrow, and then it's like, well, I know this isn't the kind of food I should eat, but I don't eat this way that often, and well, I did yesterday and the day before, but that's okay because I don't have time right now to worry about. You know what I mean? We make all these
Mm,
little compromises every single day, and I'm not saying you have to be a stickler and legalistic about your life, but wisdom wisdom is worth applying to your life. And wisdom comes from love. And when it comes to your future self, if you can just think, that person really, really matters, I love that person, I'm going to apply wisdom today, then it motivates us to do better. I
yeah.
think. I think
Yeah,
it
in
does.
so many ways. Not even just like physically, but also growing our knowledge base as well. Like my future self would really appreciate that I read this book on, caring for my future self in some aspect, whether that's relationally or financially, or learning how to love better, learning how to care for other people better so that your future self can feel more joy.
You
That's
know,
that's a really good thing to do too.
you made me remember something I did as a young teen, probably 13 years old, and this may sound weird to a lot of people, but I used to buy and read books about how to have a great marriage. And these were books for people to help their own marriages, right? And I remember once an adult saw me reading this book and said, "Why are you reading that? You're only 13." And I was like, "Because I want to be prepared when the day comes to have a great marriage."
Oh,
I'm not going
I
to
didn't
wait
know
until my
that.
marriage is on the rocks to figure this out. It's kind of a silly example, but I knew from the time I was very young that I wanted to be married and have a family. And so I prepared for that in advance, years in advance, like 11 or 12 years in advance. But we can do that. If something
Mm,
matters to you, if it's important to you, invest in it, prepare for it. Why not? Your future self will thank you.
especially just being able to visualize your future self having accomplished a lot of the bigger life goals.
you're absolutely correct. And we need to take time to celebrate those things. But one of the lessons that I've learned in life, at least for me, reaching the summit doesn't mean as much as climbing the mountain.
Yeah.
And climbing the mountain, that's why I keep saying thrive to success, make every day count, because that's life, man. You get to the summit and it's like, woohoo, celebrate. This is amazing. Look at those views. But if you don't have another mountain to climb or, other mountains you are currently climbing, then it can start to feel hollow pretty darn fast. You come
Right.
down off the mountain and it's like, oh, now what? So you should congratulate yourself for your accomplishments. Absolutely. Look back and realize how far you've come and cheer yourself on. That's wonderful. And you do that. This all sounds so self-centered. This whole conversation today sounds really self-centered, Lydia. But we take care of ourselves so we can take care of others.
Yeah,
We do
absolutely.
that so we can cheer other people on.
You can't pour into other people if you're empty.
Yeah. Yep. So it's not all about yourself. It is about yourself, but love yourself so you can love others better. Forgive yourself so you can forgive others better. And make better life decisions so that you can be an example that maybe encourages other people to do the same. That's what
Yeah,
it's about.
man, that's so true. And at the same time, we're not saying go and change 20 things about your life,
No.
hardcore, major things right now, but maybe just adopt the Japanese philosophy of getting 1% better every day. Can you imagine if you just got
Uh,
1% better every day and celebrated that 1% gain every single day? How much progress you would make? And you'd make so much more progress than making 100% change, 100% gain every single day, because that's just not sustainable. Humans aren't
yeah,
really
not
wired
possible.
that way,
No.
but doing that 1% better every single day, that's how we're wired. And that's how we achieve these awesome things. And that's how we care for our future self.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny too, because you could say, well, there are 365 days in a year, so it'd be 365% better if you did 1% every day. But that's not even true because of compounding percentages, right? That that turns into more like 500%. It's like 5 times better by doing 1% every day. And
Yeah.
if you were to say I need to be 500% better at anything, that seems like impossible task. It's like, oh, forget it. No way. But at 1% per day in a year, you'll be there. You could be 500% better. That's crazy.
Yeah. And at the same time, it really takes the pressure off too.
Mm, it does. Well, Lydia, I think we kind of covered the subject. I think it's a very important one and a very encouraging one. And I hope that the viewers and listeners out there got something out of that. But I am committing to think about my future self more. So I got exercise today. I ate a healthier diet today. And so I'm off on a 1 day, 1 out of 1 winter streak.
That's awesome. I love that. That's even more
Yeah.
than 1%, I think.
So anyway, I thank everyone for listening, and I hope that you found this encouraging. And please let us know in the comments, what you think about stuff like this. It helps us. The feedback helps us to improve and helps other people maybe to consider ideas too. So share your ideas about your future self and living a better life. And the reason that everyone asks for people to subscribe to their channel is because it helps YouTube to promote the channel more, to reach more people. And then you don't miss content because you get an alert when new content comes out. So obviously that helps too. But please do subscribe. And we thank you very much for listening, for taking the time. And we love you guys.
Yep. We love you guys.
Take care.